podcast that's like the Sunday puzzle for your ears, but with more swearing, where we dissect and analyze the New York Times crossword. I'm Alex.
And I'm Michael. On the pod today, we're talking about the American Buffalo, Michael Flatley, and the slipstream effect. So grab your crosswords and a pencil,
Or if you're feeling frisky, a pen.
because this is Two Across, and we're here to nuzzle your puzzle.
It does not get better. Puzzle nuzzlers of the world.
Nuzzlers.
Let's talk about this week.
Let's talk about this week, and it was a very up and down week this week. Lots of variance.
Yes.
The
Highest highs.
So high, some really, really high highs.
And one of the lowest lows in recent memory.
A very, very big low.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Let's-
One of the highs of this week is that you're here in DC.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna look right at you right here, and then we can look.
You see us looking like this, it's not great for the video.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the mirror?
Cool. So yeah, we're here, which means
That was excellent content for the podcast listeners.
yes, there's a mirror on the wall behind my video feed. You can find us on YouTube as well.
Yeah,
To approach
that's
that.
probably better.
But yeah, let's jump into it.
Let's talk about Monday.
Let's talk about Monday.
This is the week starting on March 27th. If you are following along in your app or newspapers or however you get your New York Times crosswords.
Monday, I like music, I like bands, and I like, to different extents, all three of these bands that are featured here: Counting Crows, Smashing Pumpkins, and Rolling Stones. I like that they're the themers. It kind of makes me think about Imagine Dragons. I really like the name Imagine Dragons because I like band names that are telling you to do something. Imagine Dragons.
Right now, you're doing it.
And now you're doing it, right? It's very active. This is active in a different way. I don't have to count crows, but
They're being counted.
they are counting crows. And Smashing Pumpkins and Rolling Stones. They're not clued that way. They're clued in this 20 questions way, which makes sense if you play a lot of like the classic 20 questions where the first question you ask is animal, vegetable, or mineral. So we have one animal, crows, one vegetable, pumpkins, and one mineral, stone.
So in classic 20 questions, are you limited to those three things? Does it have to be one of those three things in quote unquote classic?
I think so.
Really? Because
We play with people.
people are there. You could do places. You could do things. Like I've always known of like, is it a person, place, or thing? What like
People are animals. So animal counts as person.
that's a very cynical view of society, but
That if you think about it, animal, vegetable, mineral covers literally everything on Earth.
except for ideas. Like wealth is not an animal.
You can answer 20 questions with wealth.
I guess I don't know.
Is it bigger than a bread box? Like not
The
answer to every question. The answer to every question is going to be
I guess that's true.
sort of.
It's an idea.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
So I feel like you should be limited to
And vegetable.
animal if it's alive, vegetable if it grows.
If we were playing 20 questions and we went through all of them
Mm-hmm.
and the answer ended up being a garage, you didn't get it. Would you feel cheated? Like that's a place that's not really a thing. It's not really a mineral. I guess it's made of minerals
It's
as
made of minerals.
everything are. But like if you ask me, is it a mineral? I'd say no, which I think is a reasonable take on garage. But then if it was,
It's like a movie.
that's not a mineral.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of typically when I do 20 questions, it's a person.
Yeah. I usually do person.
Person, place, or thing. So yeah, it's kind of an antiquated animal, vegetable, mineral. People don't use that as much these days.
Or at least we don't. Maybe there's a whole contingent.
So I feel like I would have preferred these clued as the literal thing. Like, it seems like there's some fun you could have with counting crows or rolling stones. Like, they're not actually thinking about the literal version of those band names. That this could have been our chance. But
Yeah, these are like three really weird hobbies that you could have. And
yeah,
and it could have been like the whole theme could have been like, what do you like to do in your spare time? Well, I'm kind of weird. I like to figure out the exact number of birds on the telephone wire or something like that.
yeah, or it could have been something like murder,
Oh,
right? Nice play on words there. Multiple crows.
murder crows.
How many murders? Double murder? Triple murder? Counting crows. So yeah, we're for hire. Now, does anyone want some ideas for their cruise?
You know, I liked these. I liked the bands. I agree with you that the theme is a little bit weird. I didn't notice because I did all downs on a Monday for the first time, and
How'd it go?
you know, I was able to succeed. I finished the puzzle.
Oh, nice.
There were some moments where I got pretty slowed down. I think both of us, you did the downs only as well. We both got slowed down with ribeye, which was tough, 57 across, premium cut of steak, and then the cross with 58 down, necklace decorations. That one kept me thinking for a long time. But then, you know, I got lucky enough with 69 across, ended up being dope. And I got SWAT right there. That whole corner, I kind of figured it out. And then I got a little bit slowed down in the bottom left-hand corner, but was able to figure out go bag, which it sounds like was your like ultimate bugaboo. And this was a puzzle that you need this kind of puzzle in order for downs only on a Monday to work, because as you said last week, like the themes are things that you're going to figure out. These are bands that you have probably heard of, and even if you haven't by some chance, it's all words that you can piece together.
Yeah. So you didn't have Sonia Braga.
No, I don't know who that is.
So you had O bag and you were like go bag.
That's right.
Yeah. That's where I ended up. And I threw letters in there. But yeah, it wasn't a bad downs only. A lot of fun down clues like space race and slideshow and ambrosia and mainsail. So you don't always get that on a Monday.
I want to talk about this Monday in a different way, which is to say that I think this Monday is the right amount of easy. I think this Monday is easier than most Mondays that we do. It's on the easy side of Mondays. And I think that I'm developing this, so you can help me with whether this is a good thought or not, help me develop it. But I think that Mondays could be for people who are like dipping a toe into the crossword. It's the person who's like, I do the minis and I like doing the minis, and it might be fun to do the big crosswords, but they're hard. It's a lot of clues. It's a lot of letters. There's all kinds of places to get stuck. And I feel like we've got 7 days in a week, and making a Monday 20% easier to make it more accessible to people, to get them more practice of doing big crosswords, full crosswords, is worth it, because making it 20% harder for people like us who do the crossword every day still doesn't make it hard necessarily. For us, we're still going to get the enjoyment out of a Monday in some other way through like, oh, this is difficult. Does that make sense to me? Or to you? It makes sense to me.
I'm sure
it makes sense to you.
It makes sense to me. If that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, well, two parts of that. First part is that for a long time, the person who did the New York Times crossword was like a very small subset of people, and it was mostly because it was on paper in the New York Times. Now that it's digital, now that over the past, I don't know, 8 years,
Right,
the app has become cool and functional, and anybody can download it, and nerd stuff is being more and more fun. The puzzle is reaching a lot more people. And so we don't have to cater to that small subset, who are the people who might be upset if Monday was too easy. Sure, they're like, I'm the person who buys the paper and does it every day. Shouldn't I be treated to a good puzzle every day?
Yeah, give me a proper challenge every day.
Yeah, right. Monday can be the easiest, but it shouldn't be a cakewalk. But I agree with you. I think it's time to start like being more accessible now that anybody can access this thing. It's a very small fee for just the puzzles of the New York Times. And why not get more people on board? The other part of this is, I think the reason why this puzzle specifically is easier is because it has 4 themers, and it really only has 3 themers. And recently, the weekday puzzles have had 5, because 5 themers is a more impressive puzzle. So they're definitely like, weekdays have 5, Sundays have 7. That's like the going rate for the New York Times Crossword, because it's really hard to build, and it's super impressive when you see it, and it makes this crossword the best crossword in the world. So this puzzle only having 4, kind of only having 3, allows for a lot cooler fill and easier fill. You don't have to put really hard stuff in there that people don't know. So that makes it easier. It makes it a little bit less impressive of a puzzle construction. But is it worth it, at least on Mondays, to have that, to get more people doing this thing? I think so.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. Let's talk about Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday was a really good puzzle, really enjoyable, fun theme. You get 5, as you alluded to just now, and it's the gesture theme. We're going to give you the meaning behind the gesture in these brackets. And for those of you who are seeing the square brackets, that's always what this means, is this is going to be a non-verbal answer. And we get the gesture here that matches with the brackets, and it just flows so well. It was such a fun puzzle to do. The only place I really got tied up was in the bottom right. I had in the nude instead of in the buff. And to be honest, buff is fun, so I didn't even get that mad when it shifted over. But just a really, really fun. You get brow wipe, knee slap, eye roll, face palm, and fist pump. All of them great. You wanted to talk about face palm. There's a couple different ways you can go there.
Yeah, well, it's not just gesture, right? It's like part of the body, verb, that becomes a noun on its own, right? This is a brow wipe, a knee slap, a eye roll. So it's like common parlance, to the point that we were both surprised that this had never been a theme before. These things are so common that why have we not seen this? But here it is. So yeah, when I saw brow wipe and then I saw knee slap, I was like, they're gonna give me a face palm. They gotta give me a face palm. I like scooted ahead, checked 40 across, and then checked 51 across, and I was like, is that it? Doe? And so I guess they're going for like this kind of face palm, where you're like, dang it, could have had a V8, right? Which is a face palm.
I forgot to pick up my dry clean.
But yeah. For me, when I see face palm, I think of the like, these people who we're working with, that like iconic Jean-Luc Picard meme.
Sure.
Just like, that's a face palm to me, and that's hilarious to me. What about you, Mike?
One thing that I think that's fine. I think that Doe face palm is is acceptable. I didn't pick up my dry cleaning. I left the oven on. That sort of thing is a fine facepalm. So I didn't have the same kind of thought that you did there of, I wish it was this other thing. Although once you said it, I was like, oh, you could clue it. You could get there with a clue. Like,
I was thinking it would be harder to get there to that facepalm.
Maybe. I was thinking about it, something like, why would you say that? Why did my kid do that? That kind of the like secondhand embarrassment of like, oh my God. And oh my God is like the first thought that I have, but oh my God can be so many things that it does. Dough is definitely the most concise way to get to a facepalm.
Yeah, and it's the thing that doesn't really mean anything else. So like, what else could dough be,
right?
Gesture wise,
right?
So maybe they toyed with it and they went with that one because it was closer. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it is 5 themers, like we said, but they're all really short, right? If they're all 8 or less, that still gives you a lot of freedom for long clues that are fun. They shoot them up. Super great to see like a Galaga game and an easier puzzle on the whole. Nothing huge to drag you down.
Yeah, most themers in the weekday puzzles, you can expect to see at least 40 total characters made up with the theme clues. So sometimes you'll only get 4 clues, but they'll be much longer. So for instance, in the puzzle we just talked about on Monday, you only get 3 clues, 3 themers, but it's actually 4. And over the course of the 4 themers, you get like 42 characters because you've got long themers counting crows, rolling stones, smashing pumpkins. This one, you only get 39 total characters, which I think makes the surrounding fill a little bit easier. So for people who are thinking about trying to construct daily puzzles, you know, if you can find a fun themer with 5 themes that gets you in that 38 to 40, 41 range, that's a great way to do it and give yourself options in the surrounding fill to create a puzzle that is also fun to solve and doesn't have, you know, really clues that will make us yell at you after we do the puzzle.
Yeah, no yelling required.
Yeah. We've also got an Ass Watch on Tuesday. This is 48 down, impressively tough and cool. Badass. You know, it's not a butt. But it is using ass as like a curse word, kind of. Don't you think? Like, isn't that closer to a curse than just like that donkey is an ass?
Yeah, to the point that like if a kid said badass, you'd be like, don't say that.
Right.
Because ass means butt.
Right.
Don't say that because
all donkeys are good.
Or like badass means something that you can't say.
Sure.
So it's the ass part.
Right.
So
just saying, I think this is a step forward. I don't know that it's a huge step forward, but it's like
not a direct ass, but sort of like a reflection of the asterisk in the water.
The asterisk?
Yeah, if you look at it, you turn to stone or you die. But if you see the reflection, it's a camera lens or a puddle of water, you just get stunned. And then Poppy Pomfrey.
Stop it. Madame Pomfrey.
Her name's Poppy.
Nobody cares that you're not going to call her Poppy.
I'm calling her Poppy for the rest of my life.
First name basis with Madame Pomfrey.
Not yet. More to come. Let's go to Wednesday.
Let's talk about Wednesday. You start.
Wednesday has 4 11-letter clues that are all anagrams of each other, and each clue kind of tells you that it's an anagram kind of going around in a spiral, which I think is a cool idea. Maybe we've seen more of these in the past, and we're just, we haven't done every puzzle over the past 10 years, so we just missed them. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool because it allows the puzzle to be more like a themeless, and I love the Friday puzzles that are themeless and kind of give you space to just do whatever you want, with some longer clues. And it gives you a little bit of unseamless solving where you're like, okay, I know the letters are going to involve O's and L's and E's and S's. And so I've got my R here. Where can my O's go? And
Right.
yeah. So, you can solve it that way. And I think all four of these are things, right? I mean,
yeah. And I think that taco holders and red hot coals are maybe the two of the four that I would say, like, hey, are we, like, I don't know, I guess taco holder might be like part of the vernacular, but like red hot coals feels kind of just like, well, you're describing hot coals. They're red hot coals now. I would think of it as hot coals, but I don't mind that as much when you're just adding, when it's part of the theme and it helps make the thing fit. I really liked this. I thought it was fun, and I was kind of impressed because I got taco holders first and realized they're all anagrams of each other. And then it still took me, like, it wasn't like I immediately got the rest of them. It still was like, okay, well, I'm going to come back to 17 across, and I've got to get a little bit more on 55 across. I don't know if that was your experience, but at least for me, it wasn't one where I got the theme, it's all done, but it still helped. That's a really, I think, tough line to balance, and balanced reasonably well by Ben Zoom.
yeah, this is a debut for him. He apparently picked this up during pandemic, and he's a software engineer. So he created his own construction software and word list. And that's how he found these anagrams.
Oh my gosh, Ben.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, way to go.
His other, he only ever found groups of 3 11-letter ones. He also had special agent, eating places, and lasting peace are all anagrams, but he could never find a 4th one. But then he went to an online anagram list, and that's where he got taco holders for this one. Taco holders are a thing. You get them at restaurants.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah,
they hold a taco.
I think of them. I don't know that that's what I call them.
What else would it be?
I guess they'd be taco holders.
They're taco holders. Also, red hot coals.
I just think of it as walking across hot coals. It's just you're walking across hot coals. They don't have to be red. If you tell me that coals are hot but they're not red, I'm not going to walk on them. Hey, do you want to walk on these red hot coals?
They're not red.
And
they're red hot.
If you ask me those 2 questions, my answer is the same amount of no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only reason it doesn't.
I like those 2 better than door latches and trade school, even though those other 2 are more definitely things. They're just kind of boring. These are both things that exist. So I think it's a good mix of form and function.
I do want to talk about this top right-hand corner in here that just is a little bit of a stain on this puzzle for me. I have no idea what a sauce pad is. SOS? Is that SOS pad or sauce pad on 10 down?
SOS. It's a brand.
SOS pads is kind of, ugh. And then
steel wool soap. It's
sure. Okay.
Oh wait,
that's not.
I thought that's telling me that's what they are.
Yeah, sure. But SOS is still a brand.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have cheapies, which we've seen before in crosswords, and I'm sure we'll see again in crosswords, and I'll probably feel the same about it the next time that we see it that I do this time and the last time. Spacers was just rough for me. That wasn't, honestly, I'm not really mad at spacers, except for the fact that it crosses with cheapies right next to SOS pads and also with auger over here on 12 down. All of that, and then crossing with like a laundry pile heaped up is, I don't know. That one rubs me the wrong way for some reason.
Like the laundry pile.
Like a laundry pile heaped up. I would think in a heap.
Yeah, and it might be a cultural difference thing. In the South, we say that's a heap.
Yeah.
I agree. It's that one. I was like, whatever. But yeah, that was spacers and cheapies and SOS pads and auger. And I was upset about peeps not being clued as peeps
Right.
because it's Easter season, right? They're peep. This is like the 1 week and a half of the year that you include that.
And I would have it be very well. So here's a question for you, though. This is not necessarily like an Easter puzzle.
Yeah.
Ben isn't submitting this to the New York Times being like, hey, please run this in late March or early April.
You're right.
And that becomes, and we don't know. We're still, Will Shortz, we're still going back and forth with Will Shortz on when he's going to come on the pod.
He's super busy.
And by that, we mean that there's a lot of forth from us and not a lot of back yet. But when he comes on the pod, I'll be very interested to know, how long do these things sit in the queue once you decide to publish them? When do they get published? Do you ever go back and look at a thing like this and say, hey, look, it's the week before Easter. Why not throw in a different thing for peeps? I've got all kinds of questions about those things.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Will a pass on this one because
a free pass to join the crossword.
Because he and Joel Vagliano and the entire New York Times Crossword team knocked it out of the park later this week. So I'll give him a pass.
I do want to point out, this is a debut for a software engineer who did a really good job finding 4 things that are 11 letters long in advance. Like, that's impressive. Great discovery. But also, some of these clues are really well clued, which is not like an algorithm can't give you this clue for bracelet of, a door with a man a certain time.
Yeah.
That's solid. And I know that the editors, when you submit a puzzle to the Times, the editors will make some changes, some recommendations. They don't usually go in and like change a bunch of the grid around, but they do change some clues sometimes. So it's hard to know exactly what was Ben, what was Will, or the other editors. So I look forward to seeing. Apparently Ben submitted like 10 puzzles, and this one is the first one to press.
The first one.
So hopefully we'll see some other ones.
Yes, hopefully we will.
I had a great time.
Yeah. So Thursday is a puzzle that has another really good theme. It's these clues that is 2 words, and each half of each word has the same meaning when separate, and then when put together has a new meaning. So a rib roast is obviously a way to eat, but each one of those, rib means tease and roast also means tease.
Yeah.
They were able to find, how many of these did they have in here?
Rib roast, hot-head, drop kick,
crapshoot, and got caught.
Yeah.
Were the 2 downs on that. So, I was pretty impressed with this one as well. This one was another that it feels, it's so natural. It's such a perfect like crossword theme.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a rebus, and it doesn't do weird things with crossword construction. And I think that is the kind of hallmark of a Thursday theme to me, not just rebuses, but just playing around with the mechanics of where boxes go and what boxes can be other boxes. But it was still fun nonetheless. Great fun for me, and flowed just beautifully. Oh my God, it was so much fun to do this puzzle.
Yeah, another really impressive find, just to find these things. 5 clues, only 2 of them super long, so able to, fill the fill with some cool stuff. And I personally like when the games go across and down. I think some people get thrown off because like going once is the same length as got caught, so it's hard to know what's the theme and what's not. But for today, it's pretty obvious. The themes are the ones with a slash in the middle. It's 2 of the same word. So I agree. This is a really solid puzzle. And I think the biggest thing for me was soap pad, which was one of those things that I wrote it and I was like, I'm sure that exists. There's a pad for everything. People have soap, right? Or like PC help also. It's like, I need help with my PC. So people need that sometimes. So that's probably a phrase that people say.
Sure.
But yeah, I would like to talk to who did this one? Was this the Adam? Yeah, Adam and Brooke. Who is the hockey fan amongst that? Because we've got 18 across. Well, we got 49 down, right? Deeks faint on the ice.
Sure.
That's hockey or soccer.
Sure.
So they went hockey, which is fine. But then crease can be concluded so many ways. And they went with hockey goalies don't read. The crease, that's the blue area of the ice. I don't know why they call it the crease. There's no crease there, but that's what it's called. So yeah, big hockey fan. Who did this? Let's talk about it. I'm a big hockey fan, so I love this.
Yeah, hit us up on Instagram or at our email address. Do we have an email address?
Yeah, 2acrosspod@gmail.
2acrosspod@gmail. Hit us up. We'll talk hockey with you. And I say we, but I mean mostly Alex. I am typically a playoffs hockey person, and if somebody gives me the opportunity to go to a hockey game in person, hockey games in person are top tier sporting events in person. So I always go to a hockey game when I can, but I don't follow it as much as Alex does, but I'll try. I want to say, we get building crosswords are hard, and you need vowels, and you need a lot of vowels. And so this is the reason that clues like Erie and Epee and the other Erie show up over and over and over again, or air, all of those things. And I get it, and I usually, when they come up, I just kind of like, oh, here we are. I got to do it. That's part of filling the crossword. I actually kind of appreciated the way that they did this one. You get 13 across. Mar contents is agua. And then right next to it, the next clue, 14 across, mare contents becomes O, E-A-U. And for some reason, having them next to each other, clued in the same way, and not conflicting with each other. So not creating hassles with, like, not interacting with each other on the crosses, so that you get like a worst cross of the week situation. You just get a bunch of vowels. For some reason, it helped. Did you have thoughts about this? Because this is also like foreign language stuff. It's vowel heavy stuff. It like checks a lot of the boxes that we don't like. But I think the point that I'm making is that when you find ways to clue things interestingly, you can solve a lot of problems.
Get away with
a lot.
Yeah, you see this every now and again. There's a next level constructing tool to, like, this clue is not great. I don't see a way around it, so I'll make it better by having it reference something else in the grid. And this isn't my favorite example of that. But maybe that's just because I didn't know that Mar meant ocean. So mare was ocean. So that one was there, and then I kind of got there from working backwards. But yeah, I don't know. I like knowing that the constructor cares. I like feeling like it wasn't just someone like, well, I'll just throw this in there. Make it work.
And I'll throw this in there and then use the exact same, like, most common clue that's always used, and just becomes like crosswordese.
Which isn't terrible, right? Because at least the bad thing doesn't stick with you. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is a horrible, I mean, for people who don't do a lot of crosswords, it's a horrible thing. I'm sorry for all of you. But for those of us who write epee a ton, it's like, that's epee. I'm not excited about it, but kind of at this point, you expect it, so I'm just going to move on. Maybe you can be neutral about it. This is like a flash of excitement, but it did make that section harder. So it's a Thursday. You expect it to be a little bit harder, so that's okay. So, but like if I saw that on like a Monday, that wouldn't make it better, because now I have two things that I'm not a big fan of.
Sure.
So it's not a thing that you always want to do. Sometimes, like, I can't get around putting this crossword is in there, but I need this puzzle to be a little bit easier. I'm just going to go as straightforward as possible. And hopefully people know this crossword is. If not, they're learning it now and they'll next time, because making crosswords is hard. But yeah, if it's a tougher puzzle later in the week and you can throw in some extra flair, I'm on for it.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the really, really fun clues that Adam and Brooke were able to bring in.
50 across.
50 across. Yeah, go for it.
Potential response to, look, I color on the walls. You don't get a ton of absurdity in the New York Times crossword. That's like a specific genre of humor that is not heavily represented. And so this is just an example for me. It just kind of catches you completely by surprise. Look, it colored on the walls. What? It's like the perfect mix of, why did you do that? And what did you do?
Right.
Like, say that again. I must have misheard you, because you're saying it like it's a normal thing, right? It's not just, how could you do that? It's, you what? It's like halfway between. Just a delight.
I also want to thank Adam and Brooke for bringing 32 down rage runes into the New York Times vernacular for the very first time. That's just a fun way to type 9 letters, man. That's just, it's different. It's new. It's clued in a great way. You pay to destroy household objects with sledgehammers. I mean, there's not a lot. It sounds simple, and it is. And you know what? It's a lot of fun. I want to go someday.
Yeah. And then Purity Ring ? Halo.
Right.
Just good stuff.
Also a great one.
Adam and Brooke are now on my short list.
And this is, each of them have done their own puzzles. They're both veterans of the New York Times Crossword, and I think this is their first collaboration. So, way to go, y'all! Like, keep doing it. Give us more.
Yeah, I'm for it. What if they became the power couple of the New York Times? Like, they had a whole career separate, and they came together. And it's like Captain and Tennille. It's like a new era.
Let's hope for it. Let's hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. On to Friday.
Let's get to Friday. As we said, this weekend puzzles had a lot of high highs, and unfortunately, it had some low lows as well. And one of those low lows came during the hours spent trying to get this puzzle done,
which is an unfortunate truth of a puzzle that is both hard and not enjoyable, is that you have to spend longer doing it. I was kind of distracted while I was doing this puzzle because I was traveling, but I was in this thing for an hour and a half, which is 5 or 6 times as much as I spent on the delightful puzzles on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And so this is the one I remember the most because I stared at it for so long. This puzzle is by Rich Norris, who has constructed 187 puzzles for the New York Times. An absolute legend. That's got to be, top 5, right?
It's got to be.
Of all time.
Over the course of the last 30 years, you're talking about basically a puzzle every other month for 30 straight years.
It's not that, because from 1995 to 2003, he did about 15 a year. And then he did about 3 a year for the next 6 years. Then he hasn't done a puzzle since 2008.
Oh, is this his comeback? First time in 15 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's back. So this guy's a legend. I don't know the story behind this, but he just, I guess, drops a new puzzle, and they're like, "Is this Rich Norris? Did Rich Norris have a son, Rich Jr.? Like, oh, this is the Rich Norris." It's like Wayne Gretzky shows up for the hockey season, and they're like, that guy?
And they said, let's just publish this without even looking at it.
It's got to be, this guy's a legend. He's been here longer than anyone here besides Will, right? Will started in 94. Rich started in 94. I'm sure they're great friends. So yeah, I totally get it. Absolute legend. And it looks like a Friday. It's open. We've got a lot of longer clues. But yeah, there's not a lot of fun here. And maybe this is what puzzles looked like in 1998. Maybe it was a different puzzle back then. I wasn't doing them. I did my first puzzle in 2010, I want to say, something like that. So Rich was kind of long gone by the time I was dealing. I guess it was like 2007 or 6. So yeah, maybe this is just like a blast from the past. This is how they used to be. But these days, they're hipper than this, and they're funner. And when you have, let's see, so many 9s and 10s, but then like, what's the funnest 9 or 10 in this puzzle?
So I'm a huge fan of Peanuts, and I love all of the Charlie Brown characters. And one of the highlights of my creative career was directing the musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And so anytime that I get to think about the Peanuts gang, it's a great time. And so I really liked finally typing in Schroeder once I realized that we were getting toy piano. But man, even that was kind of hard because toy piano took so long. I didn't believe that it could be that, because there was this thing with 11 Down where you get Grand Prix competitor and don't really have the other downs, and so you're looking at crosses. You get a brand, that's not going to help you. You get attention getting cry, that's not it. I thought it was help at first. Quite a blast with a question mark, you don't really know. Eddie is crosswords, you can get there. Current event, I was actually lucky to get Eddie. I eventually got slurred after first trying mumbled. All of this is hard, and you're just trying to get something to get in this top right hand corner. And I finally got Eddie and slurred, and 38 across. That will be Air the Set of Sun, Shakespeare, and Light Line 42 across Ray. And I have DR blank blank ER to end a clue that is clued Grand Prix competitor. So I said it's some kind of driver, and it's EG. So maybe there's going to be some kind of abbreviation. Maybe there's some kind of league name or something. I don't know, but I'm just going to put driver in. I have no idea what the rest of it is. That made it really slow for toy piano. And I'm not saying that you can't put in Mr. X. I just said that In the Buff was a fun Mr. X for In the Nude. I get that, but it's just, it felt like this was all trying to trick us, not being, I don't even know.
Are you saying that you didn't get 34 across?
34 across, 5 letters, diacritic over the R in Dvorak?
Dvorak.
No, I didn't get it. It's called a Cossack.
Yeah.
And I did not get that.
It is featured in the puzzle once. In 1993.
Oh, in 1993, it was in the puzzle.
Yeah.
And here it is 30 years later.
30 years later, just as fresh as before.
I should have known that from when I did the puzzle at the age of 2. So anyway, all of that to say, like, even getting Schroeder wasn't really fun to type in. Eye contact, 58 across, something that good speakers make with audiences. Eye contact made me chuckle because Bo Burnham has a great bit about prolonged eye contact with a audience member. That's it. That's all there is. And to get there, you've got just a ton of trickeration. I don't know.
I didn't get Schroeder for the longest time because I grew up with the animated Charlie Brown specials, and Schroeder's piano is a real piano in those specials. It's small, but it sounds like a baby grand. So I did, when I hear toy piano, I think like pink, punk, 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 which like some musicians have used for that specific sound. But Schroeder plays Bach, and it's like, this is Bach. So that was my thing about Schroeder.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. We also,
sorry, I thought you were gonna. We talked about this off camera.
Oh,
you said that it was the imagination of the children.
That was kind of what I thought when and again, this is coming from someone who directed a musical about it, so I've thought a lot about like, well, what's the difference? You'll know this. There's two different kinds of music in entertainment, and one of them is music that's actually happening in the story, and one of them is music that's happening for the audience. So diegetic versus
mimetic.
And Alex got a master's in
rhyming.
Well, music. Rhyming music.
Yeah, music that rhymes. That's a specialty.
And so I've thought a lot about that and what is happening in the minds of the characters. And so for me, like, Schroeder doesn't hear plink plonk plink plonk. Schroeder hears the symphony when he plays the symphony.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. It is a toy piano. In the comic strip, you didn't hear music. So right, it was always supposed to be that, and they just decided it'd be funny. It was like full grand piano sound in the animated features. So yeah, that could be fun. That was my hang up on it. Riverdance is fun. I love Riverdance. And let's put Riverdance in the puzzle. Hell yeah, I'm all for it. When you clue it as show first performed during 1994's Eurovision Song Contest, how many people in the population of people solving this crossword know that? They can remember, oh, yeah, this thing. That's, a small percentage. Maybe some others are like, ooh, it's Europe, it's in the 90s, and it's a show. Maybe it's Riverdance, right? That's probably a bigger portion. But for everyone else who knows what Riverdance is, which is a huge proportion, it's just, oh, let me get enough crosses until I can say, oh, it's Riverdance. And now I know this fact about Riverdance.
Which is really tough when the crosses are Nev Campbell. Is that how you pronounce?
Nev Campbell.
And then ORD, an airport.
O'Hare.
And Cantab, Harvard or Cambridge grads. We are a very anti-Harvard and Cambridge podcast, just so you know, generally.
Listeners know
this. We're on record about that.
Uh-huh.
But so having a weird, abbreviated, like, different language, like, oh, look at us being... Oh, okay, I don't look at it.
There's DECA.
DECA is in there. It's a bunch of proper nouns. And even, I would say, 44 down, which may have been my favorite clue of the puzzle, my favorite single clue of the puzzle, because it was really good peak, like, Friday, Saturday stuff of senator in brief. You're thinking of politicians. You immediately go to Washington. You immediately go into government, and then it becomes NHLer, and you realize that the Senators are a hockey team and all of that great stuff. That is probably, but if you put that, and it's like, oh, you might not get this until you have some of the crosses, and then it's crossed with Riverdance, where it's like, you're not going to get this until you have some of the crosses. It's like, somewhere you got to give us ins. There's got to be an in.
Yeah.
So it just, and we haven't even gotten into like Chevy Novas and Street Map and part songs and the Poe and diet pills, and apple blank for ink, INC. You just decided to put a company and then put a blank, and it's like, it's just ink.
It's just ink. And on top of all of that, the worst cross of the week.
Worst cross of the week. 28 down and 41 across.
Sissel Twine crossing with Tunis on the Tunisian Gulf.
Yep. And Sissel is especially bad because you've got Sissel. Tunis could be spelled, I mean, you can get confused on what that might be. Sissel eventually becomes an I, but then Sissel could also be Sisil, which got you, I think, because part of XXX could be tick or tack or toe. In this case, it's tack. And so it's just one of those where you just, oh my gosh, we got to move on. We got to get to Saturday. Yeah, we did not like this puzzle.
We didn't like it.
I'm sorry, Rich. Maybe we'll like go back and see if we can do one of his older puzzles and see if this is just like the way that it was, or
maybe the puzzle just used to be way harder. And like there are a lot of old people who did the puzzle way back when, and they're like, puzzle today is soft.
Sure.
You know, back in my day, you had to work for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun.
Right.
And we liked it that way.
Right. And so maybe those people, when they hear the podcast and I'm like, make Monday easier, they're like, it's all right.
You're the problem. They love Friday.
They had a great time. So, all right. Let's just get to Saturday though, because
Saturday, notable for being the first crossword that you and I did together since the beginning of this podcast, right? Since we're in the same place, and what a perfect puzzle for us to do that, because this was kind of a love letter to puzzle solvers. It's April Fool's Day, Saturday, so let's be tricky like an April Fool. You got April Fool in the middle, and beginner crossword solvers may not realize what's tricky about this clue. Cry heard on April Fool's Day. Like, oh, that's super easy. Yeah, they tell it right there. It's like, this isn't a Saturday. That's super easy.
And it's constructed by Wina Liu and Joel Fagliano, who both work for the New York Times. And I think that that's notable because this feels like an all skate. It's edited by Will Shortz. You know that he had say in this. It's constructed by two of the New York Times people. And we are not afraid to tell the New York Times we want this, do this better, do this differently. And so I want to be like we want to be the first people to say, New York Times, you nailed this. Oh my God, we are in good hands. This is the stuff that the staff of the New York Times crossword team comes up with. We're on the same wavelength, New York Times. I promise we are.
Yeah. So you can't put the clue into the answer. You can't have the answer in the clue, at least in the New York Times.
And we've talked about this in recent weeks. There was a clue where they put 5.5 years and the answer was 5. And we were like, oh, how close to that line do we get? And we talked about that line a little bit. And, you know, we've asked the New York Times once or twice. It'd be fun. Once in a while, it'd be very fun to have, like, you know, the clue be Bruce Wayne in the Batman comics and the answer be Batman, because that's who he is. But
they've stuck to that rule.
They stick to the rule.
Except for Saturday. And so we get such lovely things as 18 across, the scientific name for the American bison. You're like, well, I don't know what that is. You start solving things. And like, well, that spells bison, which that can't be right. Well, I guess I'll keep solving. And then you end up with bison, and then you start to realize what's happening here. 17 across, when doubled, really like.
Do you like that person, or do you like that person? I remember that.
Like that person.
Come on. How about 53 across, hit Will Smith song from 1997's Men in Black? Well, that's the hit.
We are the Men
in Black. That's the name of it.
Fantastic. 58 across, probably my favorite. Blank names is name names.
Name names.
Let's just name some names.
I also really, really loved 3 down, Pikachu's cry in Pokemon. This was the moment that Alex and I, when we were doing it, we were like, something is weird, because we were like, we know Pokemon, and there's only one thing that Pikachu can say.
It's either Pikachu, Pika, or Chew. Like, and none of those work.
And we did it on paper. Do we have the paper? That's not it. You have the paper. We did it on paper. And one of the things that, like, when you do it on a crossword, it's highlighted where it's not going to show. It's highlighted what you're looking at. So you kind of like, you look at the clue and you already know what length it is. When you're just looking at the crossword, you read the clue and then you have to find the number in the puzzle, like in the olden days. And 3 down, you read Pikachu's cry in Pokemon, and then you're looking for a 4-letter answer or a 3-letter answer in the crossword, or at least I was, because I was like, this is either Pika or Chew, but it can't be Pikachu. And then you get 7 letters, and it's like,
I was thinking it can't be Pika or Chew. You can't have part of it,
right?
In the clue even, right? So, like, if we had seen Men in Black first, and it was like, hey, Will Smith's song from Men in Black, we were like, were there other songs from that?
Right.
There must have been some other song that was somehow a hit. Like, I don't remember. But like with Pikachu, if you know Pokemon at all, they can only say their name. It's like literally the only thing they can say. So that's when you know something little screwy's happening. And so, yeah, it was just a delight looking for those little pockets of goodness. They're kind of sprinkled out, like not a ton of symmetry in where they are.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, you get 20 down, city down, Lake Erie from Buffalo, New York. And the answer is Erie, Pennsylvania. You get in the clue, you get Buffalo, NY. And Alex wisely was like, oh, this must end in PA then. Yeah. And so we get that. And then it's like, well, what's a 4-letter city in Pennsylvania? We look back at the clue for like, it could be Erie.
It can't be.
It's Erie.
It is Erie. Yeah. Little delightful things.
44 down is also great. An annual book prize. The Booker Award. It's, oh my goodness.
There were apparently a lot of iterations of this puzzle, reading some of these notes from Lynette and Joel. And here are some clues left on the cutting room floor. Spanish for propaganda. It's just propaganda.
It's propaganda.
First word of the police is Roxanne.
It's Roxanne.
Williams' opponent in Wimbledon.
Williams. It's Williams, baby.
2003.
And Serena and Venus shout out.
And Blank City, Iowa.
That's good. You could have done that with a lot.
Yeah.
Blank City, Oklahoma. Blank City, Iowa. That's fun. Blank City, New York. That would have been really fun to put in the New York.
So sad we didn't get to see those, but like, this is a delight. It's kind of sad that we only get to do this once.
Ugh.
Or like, if this had been Sunday, would they have done a whole Sunday of it? And we just could have had more.
Oh man,
more.
Does April 1st fall on the Sunday next year?
I'm not going to do the same.
Think about it. Or 8 years from now, just bring it back. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to live in this puzzle just a little bit longer. 28 down, the 4th president after Adams.
Yeah.
It's Adams.
The other.
And you know, I think the only weird part of this was 36 across. The experience of feeling unfamiliar with something that's actually quite familiar to you, jamais vu, instead of deja vu, which is like the experience of being in a new situation and feeling like you've been before. Jamais vu, I had never heard of it.
It means never seen.
There you go. And it gave us some pause, but only briefly, because we giggled our way through this entire puzzle. And I'm so grateful that we were able to experience it together live in real time. That just exponentially made it better.
If I had to pick one puzzle from the entirety of our podcast history for us to do together,
yeah,
it's this.
That was it. So thank you, New York Times. We love you. What a great time.
Wonderful.
And then the second puzzle that Alex and I have ever done together since we started doing the podcast was today's. We woke up this morning and said, let's go ahead and do the Sunday puzzle together. This was a cleverer theme than I originally thought it was.
Yeah, we did it together and we got some downs. We ended up at 22 across, an iconic Van Gogh, and you immediately said Starry Night. which you titled Starry Night, which
is wrong.
which sounded right to me as well when you said it. And I'm wondering why. Is there like a song? I think there's a song about Van Gogh, and he sings Starry Night. Yeah.
Is
It's a
it?
song called Vincent by Don McLean. And my dad loves that song. Go listen to it. It's a tearjerker. And the song's called Starry Night. And so your dad probably listened to it too. But yeah, the piece is called The Starry Night. It's at the MoMA. Go see it. It's fantastic. And so, yeah, we're like, Starry Night. That's the iconic Van Gogh. Spaceship Battle. It can't be a different Van Gogh because there's stars involved, right? Star Warsy night, Star War, whatever. We got the Starry, and then we were completely thrown off by Mr. Playboy, which is obviously Hugh Hefner. But
Well, so Alex first thought the Starry Fight. You got that reasonably quickly because we had this HEF for a while, and we were like, is it just Hef with 3 Fs? Is it like
we wrote Heffy?
Is it like, what could this be? Because it's definitely HEF because the Starry Fight is perfect. And we were like, that's got to be it. And in fact, we went through and did the themes, and Alex, because he is brilliant about these things, slangy reply when Bart's sister asks what's COVID, an iconic Leonardo. Alex immediately got the Rona Lisa, which is delightful
because it's Bart's sister, and you're like Lisa.
So now we have R in that. Spoiler alert: they eventually become little mini Rebuses.
Yeah, we were really stuck when we had so many of the crosses for 12 down pitted against one another. Set at. I was like, it's set at odds. Like, what else could it be? It's set at odds, and we even had REO balloon.
Right.
We didn't have the D in there, and I was like, are these Rebuses? Because like we had the Hefner problem and the set at odds, and we had the Rona Lisa, and so that down one wasn't quite working, and so we were like, there's something, it's both. I see now. The downs use both letters, kind of a Schrodinger's thing.
A Schrodinger's Rebus?
Yeah. A Schroeder's toy piano Rebus. Where it's said, sometimes they'll do that where like both work both ways, right? It's like 2 different clues going down. This time they do it with both together. And that kind of threw us for a second. But once we had that, we moved on through. We are not art people in a huge way. So obviously we got Mona Lisa and Starry Night, but the rest of them, Klee, we didn't go right to. Botticelli, we didn't go right to Birth of Venus or Son of Man or Nighthawks or Creation of Adam. So we had to get a lot of downs. But for all of them except Nighthawks, it was a delight to get them. Because you're like, oh, right, the Birth of Venus. That's the one where she's in the shell and the ankles are all around. So Creation of Adam, it must be the girth of Venus.
The girth of Venus was I think the biggest laugh out loud. Although I laughed out loud a lot when Alex said the Rona Lisa.
The Rona, Lisa.
So yeah, that was great. And Nighthawks, we didn't know the painting immediately. We looked it up. Alex, you recognized it. I don't know if I'd seen it before, but the clue opposite of liberal doves, I was like, it's got to be like Warhawks or something like that. So for it to be right hawks is, to me, one of the cleverer clues. Cleverer clues. More clever. It's cleverer, right?
Yeah, I disagree.
Oh, I think
if
you're looking
7th on the list of clever.
All right. Well, I thought if you're going to come up with a difference for Nighthawks, like come up with something else, you could come up with Light Hawks. You could come up with Might Hawks. You've got Right Hawks, and then it's like, let me oppose somebody who's peaceful with somebody who's like a warmonger. Let me like get hawks to doves, and then let's turn right into this like opposite of it. I liked it. I liked that. I didn't realize. So I had a moment when we finished the puzzle. I was like, they changed night twice. Starry Night becomes Starry Fight. Nighthawks becomes Righthawks. So night is changing, and it's the N that's changing both times. And I was like, that's kind of disappointing. Alex pointed out that at the bottom of the puzzle, you get this like thing that puts it all together. Words spelled by the new letters that alter this puzzle's 7 works is forgery, which is the new letter that you're putting in order every time. You had an F to Starry Night, then you had an O to Red Balloon, then you had an R to the Mona Lisa, then you had a G to the Birth of Venus, then you had an E to the Son of Man, then you had an R to Nighthawks, then you had a Y to Creation of Adam. That is really, to me, impressive.
It is just very, very impressive. There are not that many iconic pieces of art out there, like art that the general public would look at and be like, oh yeah, I've seen that before in my life. You know, like that level of iconic. It's still like a upsettingly small number of paintings. And so to find 7 of them that work by different painters, and they all can be changed in this way, and they're all the right number of letters, and you can put them in this order with forgery being the letter that's changed. Incredibly impressive. And this is by 2, again, veterans of the puzzle who haven't collaborated that much. So it tracks.
Yeah, I don't know if you had any, other than outside of the themers, I don't know if you had any specific clues that you wanted to highlight. But one thing that I just wanted to say is that crosswords, especially these like late in the week crosswords, I really feel like they might be best enjoyed as an exercise for multiple people. I get the intellectual challenge of trying to do it on your own, and you and I are both pretty much sticklers for, we don't count it as completing the crossword unless if you have to cheat by Googling something or looking it up or asking the crossword to tell you what you have wrong in an app. I think that maybe our parents would be even more sticklers, or the next generation above, of like, well, you're doing it on the app, so it tells you when you've done it. And that's even cheating. So, maybe there is people, but I would just say that doing this puzzle with you was delightful and resulted in some fun moments for us. 21 across, it is better to be blank than to be pitied. I pretty quickly was like, that's probably envied. And you were like, why would it be envied? And we had like a fun back and forth about that. And you, as you slowly realized as the cross worked that it was going to be envied, like watching you come to terms with that was fun, and then was immediately mirrored by 16 Down, Real Doozy, which we had like 2 letters for this. I think we had
RIP.
We have RIP. Okay, we had RIP, and that's it. And you were like, oh, it's Rip Snorter. And I was like, that's hilarious. And then you typed it in. And I was like, don't put that there. And you were like, that's what the answer is. And then I had to have the exact same thing of doing all of these crosses and being like, oh, yeah, NSA. Oh, Aaron Andrews. Oh, Gravy, you might say, is extra. And I was like, oh, no, like it's actually going to be Rip Snorter. I just think that little moments like that, not only does the crossword become more gettable when you have 2 brains working on it, where you can get yourself out of holes by letting another person help you, but it also can create these like just beautifully fun moments.
Yeah, it was a delight. Obviously it's better to be envied than pitied.
Go on.
Why even say it? Why is this a quote? It's better to be a good thing than a bad thing.
What was yours?
It's better to be prosperous than in poverty.
Write that down, everybody. Write it down. Timeless wisdom from Alex Comsea.
Hundreds of years after I'm dead, and then a crossword.
It's better to be happy than unhappy.
Yeah. I guess in Herodotus's time, being envied was a bad thing. You didn't want to be envied because it meant people didn't like you because they envied you. I don't know. That was my only thing with envy. Croats stuck out to me. Dalmatians are Croats. I didn't have time to look this up, but are they from Croatia?
I have no idea about that. I wonder if Dalmatians doesn't mean more than one thing. Is it just the kind of dog?
They do come from Croatia.
Okay, great.
Interesting. The origins of this breed can be traced back to present-day Croatia. Traced back to present-day. Oh,
and it's the historical region of Dalmatia.
Gotcha.
Which, so there were like people who were Dalmatians.
Yeah, I would edit this Wikipedia page because it says it can be traced back to present-day Croatia.
All the way back to the present day.
All the way back to yesterday in Croatia.
Yeah, maybe you would just say the origins of this breed can be traced back to the historical region of Dalmatia, which became present-day Croatia. Yeah,
a little clearer.
Thanks again, y'all, for tuning in to the Wikipedia podcast. The Wiki podcast.
We edit Wikipedia page.
Somebody's got to have that, right? Somebody does like weird Wikipedia.
I feel bad
for a podcast, right?
Let's not think about it. Okay. So yeah, Dalmatians are from Croatia. So now you know. That not my favorite thing in the puzzle, but and then yeah, Sear, S-E-R-E, super dry. We wanted to look that one up as well. Sear means super dry. Drier wither, especially of vegetation. So a very solid puzzle and super impressive construction. How do you do this with forgery? Very, very impressive. I wish when you got a femur right, like the puzzle would like show you the image, and then someone has like superimposed like X-Wing fighters on the Starry Night or something, right? How fun would that be? But we have imaginations for that. So, yeah, fantastic. Oh, there was one in here that I said was the second worst cross of the week.
While you look at that and think about that, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our ass watching this puzzle, which includes not just 3 down, bottom of the Thames, arse, but also includes, also includes 36 across, records of the past, anals.
36 down.
36 down, records of the past, anals, probably pronounced annals, and 7 down, exactly what we've been asking for in this puzzle. We've been saying it for weeks on the podcast. Give us Quagmire, 6 letters, M-O-R-A-S-S. Give us more ass.
And they did it.
And they gave us more ass. So thanks to the New York. Listen, they just crushed it this weekend. They knew we were going to be in town. They said, let's give them a great Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. We'll give them more ass, and we'll give them.
Did you find a cross of the week, worst cross of the week contender?
No, not a big fan of slow crossing with Leo 1, but those are both crosswordies enough at this point. And that's as far as I got. I don't remember. Was it Long U?
Long U, we're not a fan of those things, but the crosses there are pretty gettable as well. Oh, I don't know. Big oof. Some fun things in there.
It wasn't.
Alex spells meanie with an I-E, so meanie with a Y was different, but it gave us forgery and it gave us this theme, so we're not complaining too much.
Yeah.
I think worst cross of the week comes from Friday. Sissel and
easily
Nice is the worst cross of the week. Best puzzle of the week, it's Saturday. I don't think there's
really. If you do a lot of crosswords, you love this puzzle. It's just like a love letter. You might call this
way of putting.
You might call this fan service. The kind of thing that if you don't watch the show, you're like, what is this smut?
One other thing that I want to point out is that on this puzzle we get 68 across. Tree climbers perhaps became vines. And that extended my lead of times that your last name has appeared in the New York Times Crossword. I am now, the current score is 44-0. And so I'm extending my lead over Alex in this, but we'll keep.
There's time.
I'm on a 17-0 run since the shorts era began, so we'll see if he can come back.
So yeah, kind of an asterisk on those first 30 or so. But
that's even Vine's. That's not even my last name. My actual last name, Vine, has shown up 47 times in the shorts era, so an even wider margin if you bring that in there. But yeah, I think that's all I've got. You got anything else you want to say to people?
No, that's all I got as well.
Great.
I'm happy to end on a good note from this week and move on to next week. And we'll see if the puzzles continue to remain to be square. We've got 2 weeks in a row with nothing but square crosswords after we've never had that.
Your shape heads.
So
the shape heads are getting antsy about it.
Yeah. So that's it for this week. As always, until next time, you can find us on Instagram at 2acrosspod for instant reactions to the crossword every day.
This episode was produced by David Cohn and edited by Judd Bushler with mastering from Alan Iverson. Original music by Clark Singleton. This is 2 Across.
And that's another one down.